It took me a while to fully grasp the fact that Belly is an unreliable narrator and that her narration and the flashbacks are not necessarily telling us the true story. I absolutely loved episode 4 of season 2 because both of the flashbacks that we got showed us just truly how unreliable Belly can be. And especially during this exact time in Belly's life, she's trying to convince herself that Conrad doesn't like her and that starting something with Jeremiah is a good idea. And the narration in her flashbacks really supports that new mentality that she has. So Belly told us in this scene that this was the first time she's ever had her heart broken, and she was so excited to go to the boardwalk with Conrad. It was everything that she's ever wanted, but then she gets really disappointed because he's actually there to see Angie. So I think what we're supposed to take from this scene from Belly's point of view is that her heart is broken because she went there with Conrad. She thought that Conrad wanted to be there and hang out with Belly, but he was actually there to hang out with Angie and talk to and flirt with her, and kind of conclude that Conrad doesn't actually like her in the same way that she likes him and that he doesn't see her in a romantic way. But now we have to take a closer look at what is actually being shown in the scene. So here we see Conrad upset that Belly never came back to the ring toss. To me, he genuinely seems disappointed and kind of upset that Belly ditched him. And then he tells her that he got her this prize and Angie said that it was the best one that they had. And he specifically thought that Belly might like it, which shows that Conrad is being very thoughtful towards Belly. In the show, we don't have any confirmation specifically yet if he actually went to the boardwalk because he wanted to talk to or flirt with Angie. So without that confirmation, we really have to take Belly's narration with a grain of salt because in my eyes, Conrad is upset that Belly left him because he actually did want to spend time with Belly at the boardwalk. He might have had a crush on Angie too, but we've seen in other flashbacks that Belly and Conrad are really good friends and that Conrad cares about Belly. So he definitely doesn't like disappointing her, and that contributed to him feeling really bad that she left him. So what we're ultimately supposed to get from this scene is that Belly was heartbroken because Conrad left her and doesn't like her. But what we saw from the scene is that Conrad was genuinely upset that Belly ditched him too. Now let's look at the other flashback that we got in this episode when Belly was homesick with a summer cold. Just out of Belly's earshot, we see Susanna and Jeremiah having a conversation where she is pretty much insisting that he needs to stay home and keep Belly company. Jeremiah had other plans to go to the boardwalk with his friend, so he didn't want to stay home with Belly, but Susanna pretty much begged him. And Jeremiah ultimately agreed to stay with Belly and had such a good time that he stayed with her, and then he got sick 2 days later. Belly is trying to convince us and herself that Jeremiah has always been there for her when she needs him. But as the audience, we have the advantage of seeing that Susanna practically made him stay. And I think this is really interesting when you piece together other bits of information that we've gotten from the show. Like in this scene when Susanna tells Conrad that he was the only one that would ever let Belly hang out with the boys and tag along. And we've even seen other flashbacks with Belly around this age where she's spending time with Conrad while Jeremiah is in the back ignoring her. So I kind of think that the reason why Jeremiah stayed for 2 days is because he realized that him and Belly get along so well, and this is like the beginning of their best friendship. And we know that Belly has always been interested in spending time with all of the boys, and now she's finally bonding and becoming better friends with Jeremiah. It makes sense why she would want to stay with him to continue doing that while he was sick. And I would be remiss not to touch on this little moment where their hands touch. This probably did happen, but Belly is just romanticizing it and making it seem like it was this big, sweet moment. But the cold hard truth is that we just saw this flashback. It's the exact same summer. She's pretty much wearing the same outfit. And here she basically admitted that being at the boardwalk with Conrad was everything that she's ever wanted. So while Belly and Jeremiah were definitely building their friendship this summer, we know for a fact that she was romantically interested and in love with Conrad. It's also extremely telling that Jeremiah says he can remember the exact moment when everything changed and he started to have feelings for Belly, and that was the summer that she turned 16, and in the flashback, Belly was 13. Also, in season 1, when Jeremiah confessed that he had feelings for Belly, this was her reaction. She said, "Really?" And look at that face. She's so confused. So ultimately, in this flashback, Belly is trying to convince us and herself that Jeremiah has always been there for her when she needs him, possibly that they've liked each other for a long time and that they have a history together, when in reality, that is actually what's going on with Conrad. She's just in the middle of the process of convincing herself to move on from Conrad and that he never actually loved her to justify moving on with Jeremiah. The problem with this show is that they show us everything out of order, and it's our job to put the pieces of the puzzle together to make sense of the timeline and actually figure out what's going on.